we are recording.
All
Okie
right.
dokie.
Okay, so, you know that my professional development plan for our group, our PLC, is gonna be on explicit instruction of vocabulary geared to the content area. So it's really gonna be geared to science, social studies, and math. And what I was thinking of doing in my presentation was beginning with some of the research, but not getting too bogged down by the research, because I don't wanna, lose the audience. But my research is going to be based on SIOP, which is this program that, or it's a model really, that was developed mostly for English language learners. However,
okay.
yeah, however, as you read this, this was part of the textbook for one of my past practicums. 99% of this information is really applicable to struggling readers,
All students.
as all students,
Absolutely.
really, absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And it definitely will benefit all students. And there's so very many sound pieces of background information,
That's
research,
Yeah,
lots of support for
It's
my aim.
domain-specific
Domain
vocabulary,
and
essentially,
yes,
right? Yeah.
and
Like it's your
academic-
3 words or
Yes,
something?
and academic vocabulary
Yep,
and all of that.
absolutely.
So I'm going to start with some research from here as the background, and then I'm also going to give them some research from this book as well, which was another class that I took, which I thought, has some really good information as well. What I also did was, one of my other classes, I did a professional development project about jumping the 4th grade slump. Statistically, it shows that if a child can't read by the end of 3rd grade, there is, I think it's a less than 13% chance that child is going to succeed academically.
Remediation, yeah, that's
Yeah.
awful.
Because children are learning how to read K through 3, but then they're reading to learn from 4th grade on,
Exactly.
and they get really confused with their with the vocabulary. That keeps them back from learning the content.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the basis for this whole professional development anyway. But here I took a lot of research, particularly from Marzano. So I'm kind of going to feed off Marzano with his, a child has to really use a word and be engaged with the word and
Yep.
manipulate the word and have a visual and all of that.
Absolutely.
So
Levels of understanding.
yes, so many of my approaches or the strategies that I'm going to give the group are going to be focused on that sort of thing. They're working with the words like we do in our English class, working with the words and really knowing those words so that by the time that they encounter the text or they're working with the text, those words are automatic to them. They've learned them, they've broken them down if they had to break them down. So, that's kind of it. So, some of the tips are identify and focus on academic words, directly teach the word, that's a
Direct
first
instruction.
Direct instruction, multiple exposures to new words, and graphic organizers such
Yes.
as semantic mapping.
Yes.
This, from tip 6 on, this is really for English teachers, it's create a print-rich environment and all of that, so that's like literature, but,
Well, are you-
literature.
So I know some of the other subject teachers have word walls
Yes.
with their
yes,
domain-specific
that's true,
vocabulary.
yeah,
So
that's true, yeah, they
You
could,
can still do stuff like
you know
that.
what,
That's
that's
pretty cool.
true, I, when I read this last night, when I was going over this again, I was thinking, oh, print-rich environment, it's, all of this, but no, you're
Yeah,
right,
it
it's
could
the
be
word
what- yeah,
walls, yes,
yeah.
so I'll include that as well. I think everything else is independent reading, that sort of thing. Okay, so some of the approaches that I was thinking, or the strategies rather, that I was thinking about for the specific content areas was in this book, yeah, here it is. Okay, social studies, I was thinking of what they call feature analysis, where when you're introducing a group of concepts, they use a chart, okay, and they have a figure here. This is where you kind of say, what are the features of this
Okay.
grouping? So you see there's an example, black bear, and then it gives all of these features and if that's true or not. So that's one suggestion for social studies. But another suggestion that I was thinking about was a Venn diagram or a timeline, depending on the content, the actual content. the Venn diagram is the comparison. And this one is really more for like an 8th grade class, but still, it will show you, for geography, I was thinking this would be really good to compare
Oh,
the
yeah.
terrain
That would
of
be great.
different
Mm-hmm.
landforms, you know, when Craig does his landforms and that sort of thing. So I was thinking of that. Another kind of approach that I found for math, I thought that this Venn diagram for number systems would be good for the math teachers.
I love those. They actually had physical models of this years ago in green, where you could write on a cube, put it inside another cube to show how ideas were nested.
Uh-huh.
That's perfect.
That would actually be good, because that's like a manipulation.
Yes.
That might be another idea for
Right.
them. I'm gonna have to look that up. Okay, and then, I was thinking for science, what did I have for science? Oh, a pair share chart for science, I thought would work. And I'll show you that. Oh, it's on page 81. Yeah, 81.
You're so organized with your
Yeah.
sticky notes all the time.
Oh, you know what, wrong book. Okay, pair share.
That might help.
Pair share is in this one, I believe. Oh, nope, I'm wrong, okay. Well, the pair share is where the kids are working together, you know, they have to work together, they have to,
Yeah, it's like a cake structure.
yeah,
I'm familiar,
yeah.
yes, I'm familiar with the structure.
So yeah, there was a pair share chart, I will find it, but that I thought was really applicable to science. The insert method for social studies, that was, let me get to that. Nope. Nope. Okay, it must be in here.
Can we go through those?
Yeah,
So you know,
thank you.
at the table?
Thank you. Yeah, okay, here we are, okay. Here. Oh, for goodness sakes, I had it right at my,
Oh, there it
here it is, the insert method.
Insert method.
Insert method, because you know what, I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, I know what that is, but I thought the
It all
insert
looks the
method,
same after a certain amount of time,
would be
right?
great for social studies, because, what it does is you get the article, you
Mhm.
get the text, and the kids in partners, they read the article, and then they insert codes.
Oh,
They say,
encoding.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
check mark, yes, I know this, question
Yes.
mark, I don't,
Yes.
exclamation mark, plus whatever. I thought that was really good for social studies.
As a preview, yeah.
Yeah.
And it lets you know pretty quickly. You could even use different colored sticky notes.
Yeah,
You could scan very quickly to see where the collective weaknesses
Right.
are, and go for the jugular right there, and then you would be ahead of the game already.
right, I'm gonna say that colored sticky notes, I like that idea. Because that's a visual
Yep,
for the
and it's
teacher,
quick.
and it's immediate.
It's so
Immediate,
fast.
yeah.
It's so fast.
Yep. Okay, and then this one, this contextualizing key vocabulary. I think I'm gonna start with this because I think this is the most direct method.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, you look over them to the teacher, would look over the material to be learned, select those key terms that are really critical, and then you need to definitely, you know, explicitly teach them.
Oh, yeah.
Use any kind
And
of.
dig in and give
Yeah,
examples,
dig in,
yeah.
give examples, break them down, particularly in science, you know, like bio.
Yeah, we just talked about that.
Right. you
In
know,
law, in science, in bio, anything
Yes.
like that, the roots are going to be so
Yes,
important.
roots and, you know, the affixes.
Yep.
So, kind of a thrust for that. And what I really like is, this VSS, this vocabulary self-collection strategy. After they
Mhm.
read, they self-select
Yes.
words that are essential to their
Yes.
understanding of concepts.
Very many of those
So-
scholastic vocabulary activities.
Yes,
The last one is choose 2 words. Same thing with brain power.
yes,
So it's their words that they
Yes.
use. I love
Yes.
that. I love that.
yes.
And that's
they can-
differentiation.
Yeah,
Done.
and they can, you know, they can manipulate the words, they can do whatever they want with the words.
Yep.
But I think one of the key things too is that they need to they need to write the words, they need to, they really need to work with the words instead of just.
Multisensory.
Yeah, instead of just
Absolutely.
reading and, you know, help do the word walls. The word
Mhm.
walls shouldn't really be done just by the teacher.
Right.
They should be something that the kids, you know, really get involved
Absolutely.
with, you know, make it a game or, you know, whatever. So that's kind of where I am with this.
So now
you know, there's a
you're gonna
lot
present
of-
this to the PLC, so that you're gonna be expecting the teachers to implement these
Yes.
practices.
Yes,
So-
I'm going to give them the examples of the practices and see what would be best for them to use, but I'm going to suggest certain ones
For
depending
certain-
on the content
Okay.
area.
Cause you know you're gonna get pushback.
Yeah.
Just so you, but, you know, you're getting across the concept of, hey, I know this, you know, this is really important. You might wanna poll them and say, how many of you explicitly teach vocabulary? And maybe take a very quick sampling of what method do you use, how do you do it, what are your
Right.
best practices? And they may either come up with things like this or that are similar, and that would make your bridging to these ideas
Yes.
even easier for you.
That's really good. I wonder though, if they understand what explicit teaching of vocabulary is, because I wonder if they think that just having the kids look at it on the smartboard.
I saw something over here
is-
before that said about the myth of thinking that they will self-teach the
They will say
vocabulary.
yes.
And, you know, it falls to reason that when we're reading a nonfiction piece and they ignore the titles, the subtitles,
Yes,
the
which
graph
they
structure,
do.
so what makes the teachers think they're gonna read the definition that's in the margin?
Right.
You know what I mean? So to call attention to that, to make them tactily work with it, whether it's writing it or picking it out of a card, you're giving it that much more exposure, that much more attention.
Yes. Yeah.
I would say they're probably going to fall back to making this some kind of a homework assignment,
Mm-hmm.
which it wouldn't have the same effect, but I can understand just because of their pressure for time.
Time.
Science and social studies, they only have them for 40 minutes, right?
Right.
So just implanting in them how significantly important this is, to get them to change just a little bit to address the vocabulary before they start would probably make even a measurable difference, I would think.
I agree, and you know what, I think that, you just brought up homework, which I think is a really good point. It's almost like they have to flip the way that they're teaching in a way, because it's better to spend the class time on the explicit
Yes,
teaching of the vocabulary, so that the concepts and the vocabulary is learned before you even tackle the reading.
right.
And what could be homework is skim the article,
Yeah.
or skim the passage, and
Come
then
in
we're
with
gonna
some
talk
words.
about it tomorrow.
Yeah,
And what word did you learn based on the vocabulary we learned yesterday?
that's a
And
good
then you
one.
read it last night, what word do you remember? You know, what vocabulary word do you remember?
Yeah.
What definition do you remember
Because
from
now you're asking them to
yesterday?
be metacognitive about the application of their
Yes.
learned knowledge. So it's all the higher level
Yeah.
thinking skills right in one. And it could be something so quick like, hey, I read this word and I remembered it from class yesterday and it makes sense in this sentence.
Yeah.
Okay, good, done.
Yeah.
So once they make that connection, they'll probably always remember what that word means
Yes.
versus memorizing it and never using it again.
Yes, perfect.
So I think that's really great. No, I think this is good, and I, like I said, I think you're gonna get some pushback, of course, because every time somebody says something to us, we're like, oh, another thing.
Right.
But it really does make sense, and you have the research to substantiate it.
Yes.
And I think that's really important too,
Yes.
so.
Great.
I think it looks great, I'm
Okay,
excited to see what
great.
happens.
Oh, good, thank you. Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna end on that note, because it's a
Cool.
positive note. Now, I have to shut off the camera. I'm shutting off the camera.
Bye! My hair doesn't always look like this.